Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
In golf, precision is everything, on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Shopping is hard, right? But I found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And he sends just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what works and send back the rest. It's so easy. Make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
Tonight on the Ospreys Theory, we talk about potentially losing our region, look back on the Lions game, discuss the Wales squad for the tour to Japan. Stay tuned.
This is the Ospreys Diary.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined by Grant Burney, and Jack Reese, as always. How are we doing, gents?
Great.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. I'm slowly getting over the events of the weekend. And by that, I mean the rugby news.
Is it a place to start, or do we want to wean ourselves onto it? Or are we going to dive straight in?
Deal with the elephant in the room, is it?
Yeah.
Let's start off with the big one. On Saturday night, the Wales Online leaked an article from the WRU saying that the WRU had served notice to the Ospreys and Scarlets because they hadn't signed the PRA 25 deal. This deal had been in progress for months and months and months and was set to be signed at the end of April and was probably about a few days away. And then the news at Cardiff came out going into administration, raised some valid questions, and as a result, meant that both the Ospreys and Scarlets have not signed it. This is only a little bit concerning. And by a little bit, I mean, what the going on?
It's such a U-turn in basically overnight. You've seen the minister from the Joint Supporters Group meeting with the WRU came out on Sunday morning as well, where everything was positive. It's all about 4 regions. You know, there's no real deadlines on getting the PRA over the line because it needs to be done right with all of the comments coming out at the time. And we've got a complete reverse then because, you know, the situation has changed. How it's changed, I'm not quite sure. Or why it's changed.
I think the big change, and it's been discussed to death, but it's Cardiff going into administration WRU control. I imagine that Lance Bradley and Scarlet CEO will have valid questions about funding from the WRU and favourability going forward if Cardiff are in control, which is valid questions, I think it's fair to say. I don't see anyone online who's taking the side of WRU that isn't being vindictive.
If you're looking to sign any sort of commercial contract or any sort of agreement like this, how can you not do the due diligence in terms of just making sure that everything that was planned is likely to happen? And when, Ospreys and Scarlets have never said they're not going to sign the PRA. They're just waiting for that confirmation that it's fair and equitable in terms of funding going forward after what's happened with Cardiff. So that's all that needed resolving, and how that couldn't be resolved, we need to ask the WRU, I think.
That's sorry. No, that's the thing, isn't it? There's so much like speculation as to who's to blame. Is it NatWest who want, saying there's too much risk involved in the way the old PRA was, and they've decided they want it, renegotiated and done now? Was there a deadline given? You also hear that the WRU have actually looked at their finances and decided they never had the money in the first place to be able to do give each region 6 million or whatever it was promised in the PRA. You guys said, well, if they had signed it, okay, what happens then? If you've not got the money in your budget to actually do what you've said you've done, and where's that money going? Like, I think there's so many questions and so many question marks and so many theories bandied around because of the way that it's been put out there by the WRU in terms of, we're going to leak a load of stories to the Wales Online. And then it turns out that the Wales Online lead with the most kind of extreme of, we're going to lose a region. And now everyone's saying, well, we might not lose a region, or we could lose a region. No one knows. It's insane. And it's just very, very sad that it's got to this point when it seemed 2-3 weeks ago that everything was fine. It's just about, we just got to iron out a few things because sadly Cardiff went bust. And how you can end up in a situation like this where you've got stories being leaked, no real clarity as to what's going on. Is it the banks? Is it the WRU's finances? Was it the West Wales teams? Is it because they took over Cardiff? It's madness. And it's just really, really sad, isn't it, to see? But that's, yeah.
I think the disappointing thing is all these talks could have certainly just happened in the background. There's no reason for it to go into the public. It's not necessary. It just stinks of people acting immature, like children. The WRU are trying to play hardball and just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen MPs coming up this afternoon now and making statements, and Torsten Bell is talking about, it's great to see that Swansea Council is still behind plans for St Helens. You got a bit more of an aggressive tone coming from Caroline Harris, accusing the WRU of bullying tactics, which, considering what they've been through in the past, on the women's game, and God knows how many other things in terms of people in senior positions and right the way through the organisation, is really, really disappointing. Really disappointing. But I haven't heard if there are many people supporting what the WRU are doing, there's not a lot out there. They seem to be drowned in the sea of general angst about why we're doing this again. It's probably the third time with the Ospreys, Scarlets and Cardiff being involved in discussions about mergers or ending clubs, etc. It's ridiculous that we keep on ending up here.
It's worth mentioning that all the clubs, and it seems to be all the supporters, are very combined on this. The Ospreys and Scarlets put out a second joint statement in as many weeks on Sunday in regards to the WRU statement, effectively saying that they were disappointed about the sudden change on the One Wales strategy that was pronounced, and were disappointed that it had to go through Wales Online. We didn't hear about it earlier. At the end of the day,
it worries me is they're saying they're shocked. The fact that this has come out of the blue in terms of, the notice being served and the PRA 2025 being taken off the table to them is just, that shouldn't come as a surprise on a Sunday morning, should it? It's ridiculous.
It stinks of underlying improfessionality and just, at what point does Abby Tierney need to have a conclusive plan on what's going on? Because since she's come in, it's not exactly been the green light go that you would have wanted from a new CEO.
Yeah, this has been the way that everything's been handled almost, isn't it? If you think about all the, Nigel Walker, the women's game, Warren Gatlin, is he staying? Is he going? Are we going to get a director of rugby? After losing every game in the Six Nations, he's offering his resignation, and it always seems to be very reactive, and there doesn't seem to be much of a plan coming through, and then it's reactive in the worst way possible, which is in public for everyone to see. And you sit here and you talk about how there's not enough fans in stadiums and people aren't going anymore and to club rugby and things like that, and then things like this happen and you wonder why. I mean, without it doesn't matter what the regions do, and I think it's important as rugby fans, every single region, whether it's the Dragons and Cardiff who signed the PRA, Ospreys and Scarlets, we're all in this together at the end of the day. And you've just got this situation where the regions are doing everything they can to get fans through the door. They're doing everything they can to work on a budget that is less than competitive. I think I was reading somewhere that they work on a budget that third division French teams have. Yet they're competing on two fronts and doing a damn good job at it as well. And then you're faced with these stories that come out from what is supposed to be the governing body. It's almost like they're just fighting on loads of fronts, and they're doing it with their hands tied behind the back. And then the international team goes badly. It's their fault. It's Welsh Rugby's fault. It's the region's fault. They're not producing enough top class players. Well, they were also there over the time where we had the most successful periods. And there was enough money to fund four clubs then. So I'm not sure what's going on. I have no idea. It seems to be devoid of any reason and any strategy, and this idea that it's come out of the blue, that can't be right. They must have known that the Cardiff were struggling. They must have known that the PRA, their finances might not have been there. They must have known that NatWest have deadlines, because every bank has deadlines with, restructuring mortgages and so on. And it's like to not communicate that, if they haven't communicated it, which it doesn't seem like they have at all, and then to leak stories. And I mean, I think I said it on you before. It's bully boy tactics, try and get people to sign things. And it's just continuing from there. But this whole smear campaign against, two regions, or I would say it's all the regions, actually. It was only 8 weeks ago that Sam Warburton was saying we should get rid of the Dragons. It's just, it's insane. It's no way to run professional rugby, and it's certainly not the way to get fans on board and get children down there and get the next generation of fans watching it. I mean, it's just really, really sad. I think to get to this point it's madness.
I think the one looming question is what happens now? What happens next? What's going to happen to the Ospreys, to the Scarlets next season? Scarlets, Scarlets, to their credit, unfortunately, have qualified for the Champions Cup for the first time a Welsh team's been in there since Cardiff 2 seasons ago.
Well, they've got a game away in a week and a half now. They've got a playoff game on the back of all this going on. And that is ridiculous. And it's bad enough when your season's finished. Their season potentially hasn't finished. They've got to go to lengths now on the back of all this. I feel sorry for supporters are one thing. Okay, for the staff and players involved. With two clubs here and they're on the back, feeling the brunt of all this.
There's hundreds of jobs that are potentially at risk because of an inability to deal with business properly.
It'll be a very interesting meeting tomorrow. I think the next One Wheel Strategy or PRB meeting is planned for tomorrow. There can't be any trust left in that room now. Can't be. No, we're going to be in a situation now where potentially going forward, two clubs are running on one PRA agreement and two clubs are running on another one. Considering the way they worded, and it's about they referencing the four clubs regularly across all of that. Be interesting to see can it work, let alone how will it will it work? It's just can it work at all? And what is plan B? Is there a plan B from the WAU if the strategy is now ripped up and thrown away that they've been working on for the last 18 months? What's plan B? Do you think there's a plan B from the WAU right now?
Of course not.
Yeah, it's a
rhetorical question. Yeah.
It's a disappointing end to a disappointing season, and it's felt a lot of it out of our control. I'll be hopeful that something can get over the line before the start of next season, although I have no idea what will happen if it's not dealt with in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. The Supporters Club have been talking to Ospreys management over the last couple of days, as you can imagine, trying to deal with everyone's concerns. And it's really good to see the statement that came out from Lance yesterday, which is, there's one statement, the joint statement from the Scarlets and the Ospreys is one thing in terms of defending themselves against a pretty horrendous situation, but to then come out and just say, thanks to the supporters for everything that's been said so far, and they still want our continued support. And as far as they're concerned, they're trying to run business as usual. They still got to prep for next season. They're still planning to move to St Helens. Everything is still on in the middle of all this chaos. And so it's good to see a thanks to supporters, Ross. It's most appreciated.
It is very much worth mentioning that the St Helens move is still on, with MP support still very much for it. So Torsten Bell put out earlier that the clubs and fans communities need answers. A fair, equitable way forward must be found, and saying that he's excited for the move to St Helens. He's looking forward to seeing where the Ospreys go. We're a proud club. We're the most successful club side in Wales, and the fact that we're not getting necessarily the respect we deserve from the WRU is kicking up a fuss across places that the WRU don't want it to kick up a fuss, which hopefully should lead to us getting a deal, hopefully, sooner rather than later. Shall we move on then from one depressive acting this weekend to a slightly less depressing acting this weekend and have a look back at the Lions game? The Ospreys unfortunately lost their second game on the South Africa tour, 31-28 in the end?
29-28.
Yeah, 29-28, away to the Lions, losing to an 82nd minute try, which is disappointing, but arguably sums up our season. Jack, what do you make of it?
I said sometimes it had that feel of an end of season game to it, at certain points. I thought it was very, very exciting. I thought there was some very, very good rugby played as well, from both sides. But again, I just felt like sometimes it was a bit, going sideways. The lot of nice passing going on, but not much go forward. And then all of a sudden, you get a lot of go forward when you got near the try line, and they'd be able to push over. It's they gave away a lot of penalties. I thought that actually Morgan Morse had his most difficult game I've seen him have for a while. I thought that he looked maybe potentially a little bit tired. He was roughed up a bit as well. And I thought Harry Deeves had a great game. Jack Walsh was fantastic as well. So I think that despite the loss, I thought there was a lot of positives in there. Kept going till the end. They clearly had a desire to win, which was in there. It would have been easy just to go, do you know what? South Africa, it's warm, it's altitude, it's the last game of the season. These South Africans are massive. Done here, but they didn't give up, and I thought there was some nice rugby played. It was just kind of like sometimes it's a little bit like kind of forward, or a little bit slow getting back on side, not supporting your feet at rucks and things like that. There's like a little bit of lack of accuracy and attention to detail that just kind of allowed the Lions to kind of stay in there. I mean, the Ospreys got ahead and then instantly, gave a penalty away and instantly conceded a try. And it was just like, well, those are things where it's like just a little bit more concentration maybe, and it wouldn't happen. So I don't want to be too negative, because I don't think it was all that bad. It's a shame the season didn't end on a win, but I think there are some positives to take from there, particularly, the back row. I think that we've got really good depth come in there, which is nice to see. And big congratulations to Kieran Hyer getting on for his debut as well. I think that's great to see, considering I think he was on the BBC documentary, wasn't he? Eating jack potatoes and chicken, I think it was, and sitting at the age of 18. Now to see him actually coming through is really, 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 really nice to see. So some positives to take from it, and makes you wonder what next season is going to bring, because I think that more time under Mark Jones, we're going to see really good attack, and I think it's exciting. I think it's an exciting time for the Ospreys.
You're right tonight. It's sort of typical sort of end of season game. It was a little bit loose. There's some really good stuff in the middle of it, but we looked a little bit tired around the breakdown every now and again. It seems quite odd to say this, but we also looked a little bit rusty at points in terms of we dropped in some players who haven't played a lot of first team rugby. And when you look at the way that when we click, we really click, and there there were moments we butchered the odd opportunity as well. So a fantastic break by Ruben in the first half, wasn't it? Where him and Keith were looking for a switch, which never happened in the end, and try gone begging. But I reasonably positive. And if the ref had decided in the last 20 seconds that we were entirely legal trying to rip that ball off the floor, then we'd be looking at celebrating a win, wouldn't we? But yeah, it's an 82-minute game, not an 80-minute game, isn't it? Really frustrating at the end. But again, not really that surprising because there's a few times that we've let a few of the close games go, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple for me. There's a couple of positives. He said Walsh looked really dangerous. There were times where, again, he's played like that a few times this season. He starts looking unplayable sometimes when he's just in a bit of space. And up front, I thought Ratty, look, the way he carried the ball on the weekend, I thought he was absolutely immense. He's done it a few times for us, okay? And when he's the outstanding single guy up front making those big yards time after time, or successfully making the big yards time after time, plenty of people trying to carry the ball, but he did so well. I thought, yeah, it comes on to potentially, is he a player who made it into the Welsh squad? He's played well all season, but that performance on the weekend would have just said if there's any doubts, yeah, he's your man. I thought he was really great.
So I did really like the little touch he got just pushing Sam Parry over for the try at the end that put us in the lead place to win it. Very nice as it's just powering over. Unstoppable force with a second unstoppable force might move an immovable object.
It was defensive wise, okay. When you look at how we defended in our 22, I thought we took an absolute pummeling and absorbed it and turned the ball over quite regularly. We did fairly well, but there were opportunities where Lions are attacking from further out where they just managed to get some, easy shoulders, a few missed tackles, a few soft tackles that gave them a few yards.
Yeah. They play their conditions, though, don't they, the Lions? I mean, you see how fast they move the ball. They keep the ball in play as long as they possibly can. Like they knew what they were doing, they're using that kind of environment to their advantage massively. And I thought they actually, I know it's not Lions podcast, but I thought they played some really, really, really good rugby on times, really fast, looked really dangerous. I think that the Ospreys defense did a real good job of like kind of scrambling and snuffing things out. It's just as you said though, like every now and then there was a soft shoulder. I think one of the moves Keith fell off somebody and then they went over for a try, and you don't see that very often. But yeah, going back to Jack Walsh, some of the angles he picks, some of the angles that he comes in on, you're watching TV and you see him come in across, you're like, God, he's hit that angle perfectly. It's yeah, I think he's definitely first choice now for me in terms of at that fullback position. 100%. Yeah.
I will give a special shout out to Luke Morgan, who's been thought of a forgotten son this season. Has been out of the squad for months and months and months. Came back in against the Lions and really well. Was quite unlucky not to get a sort of wonder try as well.
Yeah.
Great kick, great dedication. Well, not a great kick, but great dedication to even force it not to go out, per se, and force the goal line drop out of it. Was just shows his work rate. Couple line breaks.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of him, but he hasn't lost any pace, has he? Boy, it was a hell of a chase, wasn't it?
I think he got the most dominant carries in the game as well. Sorry, dominant tackles. Which is, for Lukey Moggs is you can really complain.
Yeah.
I think it shows what we're building with next season is certainly enough to compete at the top level. And I think a full pre-season under Mark Jones will be extremely beneficiary to a lot of the squad. Shall we move on then to the other big piece of news that's come out today, per se, and that the Welsh squad to go to Japan has been announced. Want notable inclusions from an Ospreys perspective being, as pretty much expected, Derry Lake, Gareth Thomas, returning back to, and Dan Edwards returning back to the squad, James Ratty and Keelan Giles on course to win his first cap. And new boys seem to be in. Gavin Phillips, who's been, fair play. He's been awesome this season, deserves a call up. Rupert Morgan Williams, who's got his call up finally.
Yeah.
Definitely one more I'm missing off the top of my head, and I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, I think Ruben's biggest problem is that, in terms of being picked, is the fact that Kieran Hardy's going along as well. Because those two have been hammer and tongs in terms of like pushing themselves throughout the season for the Ospreys. And you would have said at the start of the season, Ruben by a long way should be sitting in the Welsh squad. And the way Hardy's been playing the last couple of months, my God, he definitely deserves a spot there as well.
So when Hardy came on Saturday, he did come on with what looked like a point to prove, and you saw the tempo step up.
Yeah,
and wouldn't be too surprised to see them both in the first 23 for Wales, because they work so well off each other, and their kicking games are awesome. Rupert's very good at slowing down and controlling the game, and Kieran Hardy's brought that sort of edge around the ruck a bit more, sniping a lot this season, going down the blind side and whatnot.
Yeah, but they can both snipe as well, can they? You can see in Hardy's eyes, okay, as he's approaching a ruck. I remember watching a video from Rhys Webber on this, in terms of, he's saying before he's arrived at ruck, he's probably made his decision what he's going to do in terms of which way he's going, and is he going to make a break? Because he's eyed everything up. You can see Hardy doing the same thing, and it pays off, doesn't it? And Ruben does the same. You can see he knows when there's a gap coming. He's gone, isn't he? So yeah, good luck to those two. I think, yeah, I agree. I think they might well be the two nines in the 23. Fingers crossed for the boys, anyway.
Yeah. It's a shame to not see Morgan Mawson there. I thought they would want to call up. I know you look at the number 8 options, and when I'm saying that, I'm thinking, do you know what? Actually, yeah, particularly seeing as Wales need to win, and I think that's why certain people are going, but still would have been nice to see him in there, because I think he's had a really, really good season. Maybe he's a bit too early, but yeah, I thought he might have got in. But I think in general, yeah, particularly with Garen Phillips, I think he's been brilliant. Really, really good all season. So again, I think it's a big thing for him, and happy to see his name there. Which is just nice to see. But yeah,
it's worth mentioning all 3 loose heads in the squad are all Ospreys players.
Yeah, I'm including Nicky as one of us.
Yeah, Nicky's on loan. He's still an Ospreys player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And going back to Keelan, it's good to see him back in the squad. But this will be third time lucky. He's been so unlucky with injuries in the past when he's been in the Welsh squad. But
can we please get a gigantic wrap of bubble wrap just to put him in for the next 2 months until that first test, and only bring him on with 5 minutes left just so he gets his cap?
Oh yeah.
I think he will if he stays fit. I think if you look at the options on the wing, I don't see why he wouldn't be on there.
I think he's a very Matt Sherratt winger.
Yeah.
Isn't you think back to last summer when I think it was Gatland was choosing between Fingo Kabanga and Giles were called up. It's very much in that mould of what Matt Sherratt wants his left winger to be, where it's nippy, likes to step, and it's quite quick.
Yeah.
Whether you have the bigger wingers in the squad being, in this squad at least, it's going to be Josh Adams and probably Tom Rogers. I have my right wing swap. And then you're between Keelan, Blair Murray, and Max Page on the left. Don't know if Max Page will be in a position to start, maybe off the bench.
But yeah, dedicated left wing, hasn't he, with a traditional sort of Ospreys type 11 approach to the game.
You can see how it works, and let's hope for the things best of all Australia that he stays fit throughout.
Yeah. So yeah, Derry's there, isn't he? But he's also on standby with the Lions, and you would have thought at some point there he might end up jumping on a plane and going across to Australia.
I think if both Sale and Leinster make the Premiership final and the URC final respectively, the Lions will have no hookers in the squad to play Argentina the week after. So I'd imagine he'd get a call-up temporary one for that. I imagine Daft Jenkins would have been in a similar situation if he hadn't elected to take surgery over the summer rather than go over tour. There is, I think, one maybe more notable omission from this squad, and it makes a bit more sense. It's James Fender. He just feels like he's fit. It feels like we're missing a lock in the squad. Given the 4 players there's 2 out and outs being Ben Carter and Teddy Williams, and then there's 3 players who can play lock, sort of back row hybrids being James Ratty, Tame Plumtree, and Freddie Thomas. And I don't really see any of them as international locks. Be interesting to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Freddie Thomas, yeah, he can carry, he can run. He's not your traditional second row, is he? It's like very much a Dav Jenkins type player, where he's got a bit of an engine on him. He'll go all day and he'll chase everything and tackle everything. And Ratty is a real heavyweight tank version of that, isn't he? So yeah, is he? Do we think of Ratty as a second row these days with us? He's still a job at club level.
I was going to say, I was wearing 4 at the weekend, but
yeah,
I don't know. Internationally, is he big enough?
He's definitely be a 6.
Yeah.
I thought the James Fender thing. I thought you'd be in the squad. I did. I was surprised not to see his name. I was looking through it there just before it came on. I was thinking, oh yeah, he's not in there. I'd almost just assumed he'd been so good that, he'd be called up. But he's another one that is just kind of maybe like injuries here and there. He was out for a bit, wasn't he? And maybe that's just counted against him in the end. And
is he going to be better off having a full pre-season with us?
Yeah,
because he's only had quarter of a season, half a season.
I imagine it's similar thinking to Morgan Morse in that case, where he's not gone. It might be better for him to get a full pre-season under his belt, give him a rest if he's so high on the plans, unleash him in the autumn.
Yeah. There's a couple of other players being picked up, isn't it, within the Ospreys sort of supporters-based conversations that surprisingly missing, like DUZ being one and Keith being another. Keith has got on the edge of the Welsh team, hasn't he, a couple of times. DUZ is definitely an up-and-coming 7. So, but who knows? But by the end of the summer, things might have changed. There might be people may drop out. There might be some injuries. Who knows? But yeah. Come next December, who's been capped?
I'm still convinced that Faletau's going to get called up to the Lions midweek or something. They just don't want him to train at the moment. They know he's out in Japan, but that's my own personal theory. So maybe someone will get out there to replace him. Who knows?
Yeah. Injury 6 might be. Who knows? Shane Williams might be coming up out of retirement to play one last test for Lions again.
Another retirement. That man had more retirements than I can think of any other player. Think about it. Wales, Ospreys, Lions, and then
Lions again.
Yeah, Lions again. We can see. Probably still do a job, mate, wouldn't he?
Wishful thinking. Let's move on then, because next week we've got some more interesting and more positive content planned. We're planning to do our end of season awards. Sort of like your typical club's end of season award show. We've got some interesting categories that are worth discussing them now, gents. I'm gonna have a look at the smiles and just nods and keep going. Yeah. I think the big categories being try of the year. We've got 8 options for you. We'll be posting them on the socials as well. But to go through them once, the selection will be Dan Edwards versus Stormers, which is off Rupert Morgan Williams break. Ryan Combeer versus the Bulls, which is off the Jack Morgan break down the wing. Justin Hopkins against the Scarlets in around at the Boxing Day feature, which I think we all know the context behind that. Lukey Dye against Howe, the last minute winner. Kieran Hardy against Glasgow being our second try that game. Morgan Morse break off the scrum, offload, and Kieran Hardy runs it in from 50 metres. Keelan Giles versus Connor, his first, where it's both offloads from Gasende and Jack Walsh. Jack Morgan's against the Scarlets in the Challenge Cup off Dan Edwards' break and eventual finish. And then Keelan Giles is just Dragons, but the second one where it's just sort of up the middle 7 times with about 1 million offloads.
Yeah.
Be posting videos of these all on the socials. We'll get your guys' opinions to vote on them all. We'll bring them all together and we'll have a Ospreys Erie try of the season. Other awards we're going to be doing, got Player of the Season, which we'll be discussing nominees and deciding them next week. Young Player of the Season, which should be fairly self-explanatory. Breakthrough of the Season, Clubman of the Year, fairly self-explanatory again. The best haircut that we've seen this year, which I think will be a deep dive in and will require lots of effort from all our panelists. It will be the signing of the season, which made some pretty good business, go through them all. The best signing video of the season, because the Ospreys media team have been on it, and we've clipped them all up. We'll be posting them on our socials and getting to vote through them as well. I've got a special place in my heart for quite a lot of them.
Yeah, you don't see any other club doing some of the things that our social media team have been putting out.
2 cones, bud. We'll have our moment of the year, which once again is fairly self-explanatory, and our game of the season, which will be our favourite game of the season as a pod. We'll be posting about these, getting nominations throughout the whole our socials, and trying to include you guys as much as possible. So if you want to be involved, feel free to follow us on Twitter, on Blue Sky, follow us on Facebook, and you'll see us in the Ospreys community groups in and about. Also, drop us a like on the YouTube in the comments as well. It just helps us see it more. We'll be paying attention extra hard this week, I promise. Before we move on to what is going to be affectionately our season review next week, and it's for one reason you should stay around. Other than that, gents, I don't think there's anything more for this week, is there?
I'll just make another plug, another shameless plug. Right to Rugby is announced for next year, cycling to San Sebastian from Toulouse. On social media, you'll see the riders beginning to advertise their Just Giving pages. They're beginning to go live today. So if any spare cash you want to contribute to a great cause, have a look at the feeds being shared by people around Ospreys in the community.
That's a great project, a great idea, and I shall be chucking a $5 someone's way.
Me, please.
Other than that, thank you for listening, ladies and gents. We'll hope to see you all soon. Bye.
Yes.
That was the Ospreys Diary. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Kick off summer with Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances and save an extra $50 on every $500 you spend on select major appliances $396 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/28. Mulch offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.